Here we are, the Golden Daze. It's launching, folks. Hello, I'm Cyrus Saatsaz. I'm your host. This is a new program. Same guy. Nothing should change except for the name. Otherwise, I'm going to give you the same insights, the same analysis, the same great guests. I'm going to go solo today. Might go solo for the first few shows just to feel this whole thing out. This is new for me. I'm independent for the most part, except for the Believe Podcast Network. The podcast side of things is still associated with them. Otherwise, I'm independent. I'm solo. This is a risk. Should be a good time, though. And let's get into it, folks. Thank you so much if you're watching this for tuning in. Sit back, relax, pour a stiff one, light them up if you got them, and enjoy the Golden Daze.
That is it for us today, and we will leave you with a... I can't do it. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks. Woo! Let's go.
In a minute, I'ma need a sentimental man or woman to pump me up. Come on and break me off. 'Cause I get what I want and I like what I see. If you got shake that.
All right, welcome to the Golden Daze, a daily program covering the Golden State Warriors and the NBA, part of the Believe Network. Thank you for having me. I'm your host, Cyrus Saatsaz. You can follow me on Threads and Instagram at DogWild. The handle is right there below if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast, again, you can follow me. The handle's super easy, 7 letters, 2 words, DogWild. Put them together. That's my handle. Hello and welcome. Again, there's going to be a learning curve to this, all right? And I apologize for not being around for a few weeks. I had to move. I've never met or heard of a single person who went through a move and said, hey, that was fun. No, it was an absolute nightmare. It was a shit show. So I'm still trying to get settled. There's going to be changes constantly. I got to get a nice light to improve the quality of the stream. But for now, we're off. We're going. We've launched. And one of the many perks of doing this now versus my previous platform, that's my dog barking, I apologize for that, is that there's no time constraints. It's going to be a 30-minute show. Or I'm sorry, it was a 30-minute show. Now there's no more clock to limit what could be a great product. If we got to go an hour, we'll go an hour. If we got to go 2 hours, we'll go 2 hours. If it's just going to be a 10-minute show, sometimes we got to go short and sweet, just get in and out. But there are going to be time constraints. Another really cool thing about this program, and it's going to take a little while to grow this thing, is if you want to come on the program, my previous home did not let me bring viewers, listeners on the show to actually engage with me, which I really wanted to do. I can do that now. So if you want to actually come on the show, similar to like a caller on radio, and, you know, whether you just want to shoot the shit, whether you want to, you know, just go back and forth, whether you have an opinion, you just want to get out there, whatever it is, you can do that here. So that's going to be happening as well. I'm really stoked on that. For today's show, though, I want to get right to business, and I want to make one thing very clear. I'm a transparent person, I especially if you work in the media industry. Transparency is an ethos I'm shocked more people do not believe in. It should be a universal thing, yet sadly, people get into this business for all the wrong reasons. And that includes thinking that being transparent, being forthright, being honest is not important. Now, with that said, I think a huge reason why my previous show achieved the relative success that it did was because we focused on Golden State Warriors content. So I'm not going to make this about me, but if you want to know anything about, you know, how things went down, if you want to know anything about the media industry as a whole, I'll answer it. I'll happily answer it. Again, I don't, to me, it's like, unless something is personal, there's no reason to keep it from people. Especially, again, if you're working in an industry like this where information is the name of the game. So, yeah. So if you ever have any questions, simply go in the chat, ask, And soon we'll start making this again a program where viewers and listeners will come on the show. For now, we just got to build this thing little by little, build the audience, raise awareness. But I just wanted to get this thing going. So there are so I'm going to be, again, the point of that little diatribe there is that I'm going to be focused primarily on the Warriors. That is what you're here for, and that's what we're going to be talking about. Now, what I want to start today's show off with is all the rumors, all the innuendo, all the speculation out there. There's a lot of again, this is the time of year where people are looking for clicks, people are desperate for content, and the Golden State Warriors are at a fork in the road when it comes to what they're going to be doing next. This is one of the most pivotal moments in the franchise's history. The dynasty is at a precipice. The dynasty might be over for all we know. It might have ended a year ago. But again, until Stephen Curry hangs it up, I don't want to say it's over 100%. And the Warriors and Mike Dunleavy Jr., Joe Lacob and crew, they're in a really precarious position in that you don't want to sacrifice the future. You've got some amazing pieces in place to build your next dynasty. And I know that sounds hyperbolic, but it's true. They've got some exciting players on this team. Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, Brandon Pajemski, Trace Jackson Davis. That's a core to build on. And then you got complementary pieces. And they might not be complementary at some point in the near future. Guy Santos, Lester Quinones, like players like that have a place on this roster. So when you see reports out there of and the most popular topic of conversation with the Warriors and when it comes to trade proposals, trade ideas, I keep seeing Jonathan Kuminga's name come up. And by the way, sorry to interrupt, but Nick Fensky, and you better be coming on the show at some point soon. I will give you the link. Absolutely. I want to see your face. I want to hear your opinions. But Nick, great to see you in the chat. Thank you, brother. And the follow-up comment from Nick Fensky today saying, with the William Floyd reference, the former fullback of the San Francisco 49ers, Bruce Morrow, absolutely great to see you, my friend. Love seeing these familiar faces. Writing the next dynasty is going to take some time. Just want 2 more chips for Curry. 2 is awesome. I'm trying to be pragmatic and hoping for just 1. If the Warriors can get him just 1 more, I will be so satisfied. I can sit back and for the rest of my days be content knowing that we witnessed a player that's going to be on the Mount Rushmore. That's what I aspire for Steph. So I'm with you. If 2 is all the better. But anyways, and Bruce, thanks for the kind words. Thanks. Nice to see you as well. I just want to finish up the thought with Jonathan Kuminga real fast. There's only one realistic player I can stomach when it comes to any discussion of Jonathan Kuminga and trading him, and that's Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's it. Do not come at me with any other names. The name that I keep seeing out there is Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is old. Kevin Durant is past his prime. Kevin Durant showed this last postseason he cannot carry a team to the finish line. He is a great Robin, arguably the greatest Robin in the history of the NBA. You can make that argument. The dude ain't Batman. Stephen Curry's Batman, not Kevin Durant. And you want to give up a player in Jonathan Kuminga, and I'm seeing a lot of people bring this up, and it is utterly ignorant. It is utterly naive. Yes, I brought my sound effects with me. Yeah, it is. Anybody who proposes Jonathan Kuminga for Kevin Durant.
It's ignorant. You're being ignorant.
Absolutely. So stop with that nonsense. It is utter BS. If you do that, you're mortgaging the future for a player and the only thing that's going to happen if you bring in Kevin Durant, you're going to be a playoff team at best. Maybe. As opposed to a play-in team / lottery team, which is what the Warriors were this year. So cut out that crap, all right? Jonathan Kuminga is not going anywhere. I don't know if you follow, for those of you who don't follow him on social media, he's active with the same type of content he was posting last summer. He's training, he's working out. I feel so good about this kid. If you watched or listened to me for a long time, you know my thoughts on Jonathan Kuminga. The kid can play. His ceiling undetermined. People were laughing at me 6 months ago when I said that his ceiling could be Jason Tatum. It's very, very possible. And Bruce Morrow, making the maybe possible more apropos metaphor instead of Kevin Durant being Robin, Nightwing might be the better comparison. Nick Fensky adding Jonathan Kuminga in the lab. He absolutely is coming back for season 4. And then Gilbert Arbalo, welcome. Great to see you writing. Am I still doing Locked On? No, my days with Locked On are over. I resigned about 3 weeks ago. It was time for something new. And again, if you have any questions about that, I could tell you. I'll get into that later. I feel like people don't come to the show to hear drama and inner office politics and all that crap. But again, if you have any specific questions, I'll tell you, man. My time there had come to an end. I'll summarize this as short and sweet as I can with Locked On and why I left. Locked On does not pay any of their hosts a salary. All right. So you get no guaranteed money except for $500 a month if you fulfill certain requirements. Like if you are hosting 5 days a week, there's like a checklist of things you have to do to earn $500 a month, which is nothing. What is that, like $6,000 a year? So that's all they pay their hosts. If you want to make money with Locked On, you got to actually get numbers. You need to get web traffic. You got to get downloads. And if you get that, if you can actually pull in numbers for your program, the hosts get 80% of the revenue. The network gets 20%. And fortunately, I was doing okay. They're not great. If I was making a ton of money, I would not have left. But that's how the model works. And then on top of that, if you have a co-host and your co-host is doing nothing and you're doing all the work, at a certain point, you're going to start asking yourself, why am I giving my co-host money that I'm doing all the work for? And so it just came to a head, and I realized if I'm going to be doing that kind of work, if I'm going to be, busting my ass to produce 5 days a week of programming, I don't want to do it for a network that's going to take some of my money, and on top of that, give it to someone else who is not carrying their weight. So it was time to go independent. I'm no longer with Locked On. I thank that network for one thing and one thing only, and that is giving me the exposure that I got from there, introducing me to a much larger audience that I may or may not have otherwise reached. So I thank the network for that. Otherwise, horribly run company. I could go off on a lot of things about the piss poor things they do, and I'm happy to be independent, man. And anything beyond that, I really, if you have questions, I'll happily answer it. And Gilbert, thank you so much for the kind words. And I hate Ewoks in the house. What is up? Saying welcome back. And then look, the good news is if you like my stuff, man, and I'm so thankful for that. For anyone who ever, I don't handle compliments well. I don't think I'm a special person. I'm confident in my abilities to cover the NBA and the Warriors. But I'm eternally grateful for your support. So thank you. And that program's going to be right here. It's the same thing. So we're not going anywhere. It's and I hate Ewoks. I love the fact that you remember way back in 2022 in the playoffs where I predicted each series to the game, except for the NBA Finals. I was off by one game, but had Steve Kerr played Gary Payton II in game 1, I would have nailed that series as well. But thank you so much for remembering that. What a marvelous time that was. I want to talk real quick. So I mentioned the fact that, again, trading Kuminga for KD is asinine. I want to bring up one name that was briefly being uttered in all the blogs and all the social media trending sections and whatnot, and that's Jimmy Butler. And Nick Fensky, by the way, thank you. I appreciate you showing the love. And the good news is my connections are still there. I still have insiders. I'm going to be going to games again this season. And truth is, man, after a certain point when you go to games year after year, you don't get much anymore going to them. If in fact, I don't know if this matters or not, but when I'm at a game, I don't actually watch from the media section. I'm in the media room where they serve the food and all the writers are hammering away and watching the game on a TV there. That's how much better it is in terms of observing and consuming basketball. You see way more with TV. Being there live, you see little nuances in terms of like player interactions on the bench, off-ball actions that may be missed on watching TV. But generally speaking, the TV broadcast is vastly superior. in terms of being able to observe and to just absorb everything with basketball. So, but again, I'll be back there again. I'll be doing some shows from the arena this year. So the point is, even though like the name of the show has changed, the home has changed, it's going to be the same, man. We're still going to be rocking and rolling. And Nick, thank you so much. And Bruce Morrow, this is one thing I'd love at some point for you to come on with me, because I hear people say this sometimes, that you agree a lot, but then you disagree a lot. If you disagree, Bruce, I want you on this show. We're not going to do this today because today is just a test run. We're getting this thing rolling. But Bruce, I'm going to actually be bringing people on this program to debate with me, to converse with me, to engage, just to have a good old time. So I hope you join me in the near future when I officially roll the whole bringing people on the show aspect. So if you do disagree, at least we could have a healthy, fun discourse about it. And Gilbert Arballo saying me and Steiny are the best and realistic analysts of the Dubs. Thank you so much for the compliment. Radio that's an industry that's just faltering. Yeah, I don't know if they would have. It would surprise me if like 10 years from now they're even around. Maybe even 5 years. But anyways, yeah, Bruce, I hope you do come on. But I want to bring up, going back to the Warriors real fast, as I watch a shirtless man drive down my street on a dirt bike. Jimmy Butler's name has been mentioned out there, or at least it was being mentioned out there a little bit, for the simple reason that Anthony Slater of The Athletic mentioned just his opinion, and yet a million news organizations ran with it like it was an actual fact. He said that Jimmy Butler would be a player to keep your eye on if he was available for a trade. And you had a lot of opinions coming with that in terms of whether or not people should support it, whether it would be a bad move. I don't think it would be a bad move at all if you're not giving up the house for him. Jimmy Butler turns 35 this year. So I can understand any consternation about, giving up the farm for a player who's on the tail end of his career, who misses a lot of games routinely. But Jimmy Butler can play. All right. And if you can put Jimmy Butler on the Golden State Warriors without giving up Jonathan Kuminga. So if you're talking about a trade, for example, where it involves Pajemski, it involves maybe Trace Jackson Davis. You got to throw Wiggins in there to get the money matched up. And side note, I really hope Andrew Wiggins is traded this offseason, unless Klay Thompson walks away. And we'll get to that in just a second. There's just too much of a logjam. He's too inconsistent for the amount of money he makes. It's ridiculous. It still annoys me to no end that the team did not move on from him after last season. It was another reminder of Steve Kerr. He's slow to adapt. He realizes things a good 6 months to a year after I do, after a lot of people do. It's not a good look. And Wiggins, unless Klay decides to walk away, they got to move that contract. And they got to move that player so he's not a crutch of Steve Kerr's, because Steve Kerr loves his safety blankets. He has certain players he trusts that he goes to when he shouldn't. So point is, if you can pull off a trade for Jimmy Butler that does not involve Jonathan Kuminga, sign me up. I mean, think about a team, because Mike Dunleavy Jr. has a really tricky task in front of him, in that you don't want to mortgage your future. You don't want to give up pieces that are going to be playing real minutes for you a few years down the road, if not sooner. But you've still got Stephen Curry on this team. You've still got Draymond Green, not the same Draymond, but he's still damn good. You've got him on the team. So you can't just throw in a towel. You can't just say this is a rebuild. You can't just say we're in a transition phase of our organization. You have to like, if you can pull out the stops, you got to do it. You have to do it. You can't squander Steph's remaining years. But you also can't give up players like Kuminga, Pajemski, and Moses Moody for nothing. Kuminga especially. He is the prize of that batch. But Jimmy Butler on the Warriors, again, if you can think of how much better they would be with a five-man lineup that has, let's say, Steph, Butler, Kuminga, Draymond, Trace Jackson Davis. If that is your starting five, you're a contender. You are contending for a title. You need depth. You still got to go out there and sign other pieces. But if you bring Jimmy Butler onto your team and you still got Steph You've got him and Draymond anchoring your defense. He's an incredible playmaker. You still have Kuminga for your athleticism. You bring in a couple shooters to shore up your three-point shot. The point is, sign me up for Jimmy Butler if Jonathan Kuminga is not part of that. Nick Fensky, by the way, bringing up the fact that Bob Fitzgerald, my old colleague at KNBR, is going to be announcing the Olympics again. This is not the first time he's done that. But yeah, good for him. He's a solid broadcaster. Gets a lot of critique for being a homer, but he does work for the Warriors, so that is his employer. So I just wanted to quickly touch on the Jimmy Butler thing. I also heard that Nic Claxton is a player that the Golden State Warriors could be potentially interested in. Sign me up. It's not going to happen. Nic Claxton is going to be probably commanding over $20 million a year. The Golden State Warriors do not have that amount of money to sign free agents. Again, the way things are going, if they don't exercise that Chris Paul a final year, it's a team option, $30 million. I don't think the Warriors are going to do it, because if you don't give Chris Paul that $30 million, even though you're still over the cap, you've got a lot of cushion between being over the cap and then entering luxury tax territory. We're talking like $30 million is the gap. Like, Chris Paul's contract is almost entirely the gap between the Warriors having two mid-level exceptions, one for a little over 12 million, another for a little over 4 million. That's the difference with a Chris Paul contract. If you keep Chris Paul, you don't have the mid-level exceptions. You're $1 million or $2 million below the luxury tax. If you don't have Chris Paul, you have mid-level exceptions, 2 of them, and you've got a nice cushion for the luxury tax. And that's important because Kevon Looney's name has been coming up here. And his guarantee on the final year of his contract, which is going to be for $8 million. And thank you so much, Gilbert. I hope this channel blows up too. I have faith. I have confidence. I've literally gambled on myself on this channel. So I hope the bid pays off. I digress. So Kevon Looney is scheduled to make $8 million this year. Only $3 million is guaranteed. And there are some reports out there which are pretty dumb, stating that the Warriors might not keep Kevon Looney. They might just cut him all together before June 24th. So a week from today, we're recording this on June 17th. A week from today is when the Warriors have to make a decision on Kevon Looney. And the decision is you keep him, you pay him $8 million, and you have a player who knows the system, who's a great chemistry guy, who should not be starting, but who can come off the bench and give you serviceable minutes. Or you cut him and you save $5 million. I do not see that happening. $5 million is not enough to cut a player of Kevon Looney's stature. And I hear that I've seen this conversation, or I've seen this topic, which is, or this talking point, which is, well, you know, if they cut him, they'll only owe $3 million and they're saving a ton of money because of luxury tax penalties. No, the Warriors are out of that hellhole that they've been in for the last 3-4 years, where every penny they spend, they're also spending another 12 on that dollar because of luxury tax penalties. They're not in that situation this year. They're not. So when the Warriors pay Kevon Looney $8 million, they're paying him just $8 million. It's not actually $56 million. So the Warriors literally are saving $5 million if they cut Kevon Looney. That's not enough money to remove a player of his significance as a backup big. Okay. It's not like the Warriors are stacked in terms of bigs to begin with. So I just don't see that happening at all. Now, I Hate Ewoks asks, can they cut Looney and re-sign him to a veteran minimum? In theory, yes. But the reason why I don't see that happening is because if you cut him and then re-sign him to the veteran minimum, you're going to have to give him that $3 million no matter what. And then you got to pay him another $2+ million with a vet minimum contract. So you're basically losing over $5 million on Kevon Looney if you go with this plan. In other words, you're saving like $2 to $3 million is what you're doing. And you also take the risk of Kevon Looney being offended and not coming back. So to answer your question, in theory, yes. In reality, I don't think that's happening. Either you keep Kevon Looney, you pay him the $8 million, or you cut him. And yes, you can hope that he comes back for the vet minimum, but you also risk him being offended like Klay Thompson is right now and bailing. And I hate Ewoks adding, this channel is going to be harder to find for trolling Lakers fans. But this channel will blow up. This is day one. This is going to be a daily show, by the way. I'm going to be here every day. So my former home cannot claim they're the only Daily Warriors podcast. There's now at least two of us. So we'll get into this a lot more in the near future, but I think it's going to pick up. I think it's going to blow up. Next topic is Klay Thompson. And this is the big name this offseason for the Warriors. It's I believe the first time Klay Thompson is going to be entering free agency in his career. The other day, Hall of Famer Rick Barry and I hosted a program together. It's on this channel. If you subscribe to Golden Daze, every episode of the Rick Barry Show will be uploaded on this channel, whether it's the podcast or YouTube. But if you ever want to catch any of our live shows, download the Mic'd Up app. That's where we do the show live. And then a day or so after the show airs, I will upload it to YouTube and all the podcast stuff. So I brought up with Rick his thoughts on the fact that Klay Thompson unfollowed the Golden State Warriors on social media. I had one or two people ask me, and again, I'm active on Threads. If you ever want to engage with me, again, my handle is @dogwild. I'll get back to you. I'm probably going to reactivate my Twitter accounts just to market this show, but I'm not going to be active on there. That place is just an absolute cesspool. I do not support it one bit. Anyways, I digress. But someone was telling me that Klay Thompson's done this before. I don't remember that ever happening. Again, for the simple reason that he's never been a free agent before. But clearly, 2 years, $48 million, not enough. Klay, from what I've researched and learned myself, he wants a longer deal. That's part of what he wants, and the Warriors are hesitant to offer him that. But he has unfollowed the Golden State Warriors on social media. He's also deleted a lot of content associating himself with the Warriors. And I asked Rick Barry what his thoughts were on that and whether or not it meant anything. And here is with the Hall of Famer, with the NBA all-time top 50 player, with the 1975 NBA Finals MVP had to say about Klay and his recent actions unfollowing the Warriors on social media.
Well, I think he's crazy if he would leave. Why would he leave?
Money. I think he wants a lot of money. I think he wants more big payday, and I don't think the Warriors are willing to offer it. I think that's where we're at right now.
Oh, there's so much. How much money do you need to live?
I don't know. I'm with you. All I know is last year they offered him a 2-year, $48 million extension. That's $24 million a year. He considered that a disrespectful offer, and I have no idea where things are now. So, yeah, it's unfortunate.
Klay, come on. You got enough money. Get one of the greatest point guards, the greatest shooters in the history of the game. You guys have had so much success together. I would assume that you're good friends, and I think the Warriors are willing to keep you guys together to give it one last shot maybe here and bring in some other people. You're set home, you're here. Why do you want to pick up and have to move to go someplace else? You're at the end of an illustrious Hall of Fame career. You're one of the rare players who will have played an entire career in the same franchise. I mean, so many positive things about just staying. It shouldn't be about the money. If anything, why would you not say, hey, listen, I'll take less money, use my money to go get someone to win another championship. Now, that would do. Okay, seriously, come on. All right, I'm done.
And that's Rick, right to the point. I absolutely love the Hall of Famer. It was a great show, a big theme of the program. And again, if you subscribe to the Golden Daze, it's uploaded on this channel. A lot of the theme was Jerry West, who Rick called his mentor, his friend, the sad passing recently, the former Warriors exec. At the end of the show, I'm also going to drop you a story that I'm breaking that has never been reported in regards to why Jerry West left. I found that out recently, so stay tuned for that. Sorry, I'm checking out the chat here real fast. I also want to bring up, play the soundbite of Draymond Green. He talked about his teammate Klay Thompson recently unfollowing the team on social media. Let's hear what Draymond had to say about that. This was on his show.
I know all of you were probably looking forward to me talking about Klay unfollowing the Warriors and deleting some IG posts or something. I had no idea that happened. I think it's fucking hilarious. Just so y'all know, I laughed when I logged on here and Jackson's like, yo, so what about Klay? I'm like, what? Like, what happened? It's like, oh, he unfollowed the Warriors. I think that's comical. I know you all be wanting like somebody's feelings to be hurt or something. It ain't that, ain't never gonna be that. That's hilarious.
So he didn't really say anything there. I don't know what's funny about it. I don't know why it's hilarious. I wish he went more into that. But nonetheless, that was Draymond's comments on that. Orlando is the team that seems to be connected to Klay Thompson the most. And again, it's one of those situations where, you know, I recently got hired to write for Yardbarker, and my first column for them, and they're not all going to be columns, but this was the first pitch that they approved. I'm going to be writing a story on dynasties sustaining themselves and how it, in fact, is a possibility that not all dynasties have to come to an end when, you know, their core players age out of their primes. And so that's going to be that's going to be my first column. How you can sustain a dynasty. You can have a dynasty reign over multiple generations. It's possible. It's been done. Steve Kerr does not. I don't think he subscribes to that philosophy, because if he did, we would be seeing very different players on the floor for the Warriors this season. And with the Klay Thompson thing, again, I don't interject sentimentality with my sports coverage. Meaning, if you're a fan of the Warriors, I can understand you not wanting to lose Klay. I get it, but if you want this team to be successful long term, you've got too much talent on this roster to keep him around, and especially to invest the kind of money that he wants. He's looking for max or close to max dollars. He wants $30, $35, $40 million a year. He wants to keep making what he's making now. And Philadelphia might offer him that money. Orlando might offer him that money. But if the Warriors offer him that kind of money, you're back in luxury tax hell. You don't have your mid-level exceptions, and you have an aging player who cannot play defense like he used to. And that has been the biggest negative by far with Klay Thompson's regression. It's not so much the offense taking a step back, his shooting not being the same as it once was. It's the fact that defensively, he went from being a player who fit the stereotypical mold of a shooting guard defensively, so that he can defend quick guards out there. Now he's more a stereotypical 3. Sometimes we see him playing the 4. The Warriors have plenty of that already. There is a logjam for his position. There's a logjam for his skill set with this roster. Moses Moody needs to play. Jonathan Kuminga, I know it's weird to hear this. He can sometimes play the 2 out there. And I don't think it's a bad thing to have Kuminga play a role like that, because as we've seen in these NBA playoffs, size wins. You need big players out there, largely for defensive purposes. And Klay just cannot hold his own anymore as a 2 guard defensively. He's a liability. Moses Moody, how did it feel this year? Still getting DNPs in year 3. Still not having the trust of your head coach, despite the fact that time and time and again, you were a clutch player.
I mean, it sucks.
Yeah, of course it sucks. Moody, how does it feel? I know you love Klay Thompson. He's probably taught you a lot of things. But how does it feel to watch your career being stunted so that Klay Thompson's ego can be fed?
I mean, it sucks.
Exactly. It sucks. And so the Klay Thompson situation, while on one hand, you'd love to see him be a lifer. You'd love to see Klay Thompson finish his career wearing a Warriors uniform. In a perfect world, that happens. Maybe it still does. But for the money he wants, It literally affects the Warriors in the sense that you can't sign players for those mid-level exceptions if you give Klay that big deal. And if Klay goes, Andrew Wiggins is suddenly not a redundancy. All right? You can play Andrew Wiggins at his natural position, the 2. Wiggins, if there's one thing about his game this last year that I did not freak out about, it was his shooting. Since January of last year, his three-point shot came back, was consistent. He was shooting it better than Klay Thompson in the last 3 months of the season. I would not mind Andrew Wiggins playing the 2. Defensively, he can handle that. Klay Thompson can't. And if you have Wiggins staying on the team, and now he's your shooting guard, now you've got an athletic, big team out there that you're surrounding Stephen Curry with, and there's real potential there. And then you can make that second unit just stacked with depth to support that starting 5. So that's where the Warriors are at. Bruce Morrow in the chat writes, I'd rather keep Klay than Wiggins. He's too mercurial for me. That's interesting. Bruce Morrow writes that the Mavericks, it's Bruce again, that the Mavericks could have used Klay in the finals. Yeah, that's true. It's crazy that the Mavericks are just even in the finals because for some reason, my mind keeps going back to the fact that if Denver had somehow gotten to the finals, they would have wiped the floor and been repeat world champions. This was just a funky NBA postseason in general. The first 2 rounds, epic. We had 3 Game 7s on the same. No, we had 2 Game 7s in the same day in one of the Sundays. It's been amazing, but these last 2 rounds have been a bit of a dud. And by the way, side note, if you want to win some money, I feel good about this. Bet on the Celtics. The last I checked, the line is -6.5. Because this program is with the Believe Network, Bet Online is going to be a sponsor. I'm going to be giving some love to again soon. Laura! Sup, girl? Getting the thumbs up. Laura Doan. Good to see you. Bruce Morrow adding one of the worst finals of all time. Yeah, it's been boring. It's been dull. Anyways, one last thing here before we wrap it up for the debut show. I want to, I said that I'd be breaking a story for the first program. And the story is this. People love to give Jerry West credit for being a fundamental part of the dynasty starting, and they should. Rick Barry confirmed on the last show we did that Jerry West was the reason that the Golden State Warriors did not trade Klay Thompson for Kevin Love. This was back in like 2014, I believe. That trade was on the table. Jerry West stepped in and said, don't you dare do that. Now, and the Bob Myers haters love to bring up that point as saying, well, Jerry West, he was the one responsible for the dynasty, not Bob Myers. But again, Bob Myers, I still don't know what his role was in that Klay Kevin Love trade. I don't know if that was a Joe Lacob thing primarily, but they didn't have to listen to Jerry West. And, so props to Jerry for, being smart, being the intelligent one in the room. That's not the breaking story I wanted to mention, though. So Jerry West in 2017 left. And he left the Golden State Warriors as a consultant, as someone who advised them to make a lot of phenomenal moves and decisions. And he went back to the LA Clippers. He's an LA boy. I know the Lakers are the team he's most synonymous with. But the question's been raised, like, why did he leave? Why did he go back to the LA Clippers? I think Tim Kawakami wrote in a column that the Clippers offered more money. Mark Stein wrote something to the effect that the Clippers paid him $4 to $5 million a year, and that's what convinced Jerry West to leave the Warriors for LA. All very true. Xavier Ortiz, great to see you, friend. Thank you. Well, Bruce Morrow thinks the Mavs are winning tonight. I hope you're right. I really do. I want a good series. I want to see this thing stretched out as long as possible. I don't want the Celtics to win for the simple reason that Al Horford annoys me to no end. I do not want him to be a champion, even though it's probably going to happen. I hope the Mavericks win. I do, but I think the Celtics are just going to wipe the floor with them tonight. Bruce Morrow adding Stephen Curry not being traded to the Bucks built the dynasty. That story I've never verified as true. But yeah, if in fact that we're thinking about it, Thank God that didn't happen. The story that I wanted, though, to reveal real fast is I confirmed with an anonymous source that Jerry West was being paid $1 million a year by Joe Lacob to be the consultant for the Golden State Warriors. That's not a bad amount of money for someone of Jerry West's stature. Not a ton of money either. But that is what he was being offered. That is what the Warriors were paying him. Steve Ballmer came in and said $3.5 million a year. I think Mark Stein threw out $4 to $5 million. I can confirm that amount was $3.5 million. So the Clippers offered $2.5 million more per year to Jerry West and the Golden State Warriors. Now, if you're asking yourself, did Joe Lacob attempt to match? Did Joe Lacob try to at least give a counter proposal? No, he did not. And Jerry West left. Now, whether or not you agree with that, with what happened, that's obviously your prerogative. I wish they had fought harder to keep Jerry West. Dude has a brilliant basketball mind. His approach, his philosophy is very simple. Just collect the best players, right? And you got to respect that. It's very simple and it works. But again, the Warriors were outbid by $2.5 million per year by the Clippers. Did not offer to match or to raise the $1 million per year that they were paying him, and so Jerry West left. So, yeah, I guess that's it. Anything I missed? Anything? Any final questions? Again, that we'll be back at this tomorrow. We'll talk about the NBA Finals. It's going to be a daily program. I just wanted to get the ball rolling, and I'll work on the lighting. I'll work on all sorts of stuff. What's to come? Obviously, Rick Barry is going to be joining this program regularly. Larry Kruger and I are going to be doing a weekly hit, maybe 2 days a week at a minimum one. Damon Bruce, another good old friend of mine. Him and I are going to be collaborating regularly. Paul McCaffrey of the Murph and Max Show, he's going to be collaborating with me regularly. Mark Jones of ESPN will be coming on the show consistently. Kristen Peak, draft expert, she's going to be coming on the show soon. Eric Pincus, salary cap expert, he's going to be coming on the show soon. The point is, everything that you loved about this show when I was at the previous place, I hope to keep it going and then some. And no commercials, at least not for now. So you got that going for you. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I hate Ewoks. Writes, good show. Thank you, man. I'm really happy to have you back and looking forward to daily videos. Would love to hop on a show with you sometime during the season for a post game. Hell yeah, dude. I'm going to start doing that very soon. Maybe even tomorrow. I might start bringing people on the show tomorrow. Bruce Morrow writes that you're going to be on the show soon. You're damn right you are. I'm bringing you on immediately. So let's make that happen again as soon as tomorrow. I'm also going to tinker a bit in terms of when would be an ideal day and an ideal time to get the show. I want this to be like an appointment thing. I'm leaning towards 1 p.m. Monday through Friday Pacific time. Haven't made that final decision yet, but we'll get there soon. Regardless, everyone who's here now, we have 11 people in the chat. In my last year at the previous place I was hosting a show at, we were getting over 1,000. We will get to that point again at some point. Xavier Ortiz, thank you so much for the love. Bruce, thank you for the love. Laura, Nick, Gilbert, everyone who came on the show today, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And this is just the beginning. This is literally day one. So thank you for coming on, Laura. And Laura, you better come on. Laura Doan, before we go, by the way, who's writing in the chat right now, she lives in England, and more specifically, I believe London or in the metropolitan area. She's going to be our correspondent for the U.S. Olympic team because even though they're playing in Paris, I believe they're going to be playing some qualifiers in London. Laura's going to be there, and she'll be our correspondent. Laura, in fact, I would recommend pursuing a media credential so you can actually get some insights and list our show as your employer for that. Make it happen. Take advantage of it. Yeah, absolutely, Bruce. Yeah, Laura's on Threads all day. She's a rock star. Everyone's a rock star. And thank all of you for coming on the program. So we'll be back at this tomorrow. Most likely 1 p.m. I have not finalized the daily regimen for that, but I appreciate all of you. I thank all of you. It's good to be back, and we'll do this again soon. Bye-bye.